Alrighty, so in this video, I'm going to explain the business unit case math and how to pick your sales funnel. And this is super, super important because if you look at a business through this lens, you can solve your problem, whatever that problem may be. Okay, and this is really, really important. I'm excited to share this stuff with you. So let's first define what a unit case is. What is the business unit case? So the business unit case is the point or the event where you can spend $1 and make more than $1 back. So if you spend $1,000, you make $2,000 back. That's the unit case, and it's a function of the offer. So whatever you're selling, it's a function of the gross contribution. So your margins over the lifetime of that customer. So how much are you bringing home to your wife, your husband, or your kids? What are you bringing back to the investors? What is the gross contribution? It's also a function of the traffic source and the closing mechanism. Okay, so you're juggling a few balls, and then all of a sudden it clicks. So the offer clicks, the gross contribution, the margin clicks, the traffic source clicks, and the closing mechanism clicks. And all of a sudden, it's like the doors just open up. You prove the unit case, and you can go out and you can duplicate this event. And Elon Musk, I didn't invent this. Elon Musk said it very well in one of his interviews. He said a business is just a big machine that gets whatever you have in the hands of more people. Okay. And now using this terminology, it's a business, or the business is just a mechanism that duplicates the unit case. Okay. So I'm going to give you some examples of a unit case to make this point pretty clear. So let's talk about one of my mentors, Ben Stewart. This guy was a millionaire in his 30s. And he was one of my first mentors, and he took me under his wing and he taught me how to sell, and he taught me a lot about business. And I was watching him build this amazing business. And he spent years doing this, but this is actually what he did. He had his company called Canadian Property Stars, and it was a house maintenance. He did like lawn maintenance, he did house painting, he did like driveway sealing, he did all this stuff. But when he first started, he went out by himself. He got this machine called a lawn aeration machine, which is basically a big machine that pokes holes in people's lawns and opens up the roots and the soil to make the grass green. And he went out door to door and he sold this service for $100. Okay. And that was, he hit like 100 doors. He sold like 5 of them. He made $500, and he proved the unit case in a couple days. Okay. So the unit case was he was able to go out door to door, sell his service, and he brought home money, and he proved that this thing worked. It was like he was going out and he was picking up $100 bills off the street, or with like maybe $80 off the street every customer. Okay. So then what he did, once he proved the unit case, then he built a team of 400 people to duplicate what he did. And then he just bootstrapped to $15 million a year and netted himself a few $1,000,000. So he started just with the unit case. He figured out the traffic source. He figured out the conversion mechanism. The traffic source was door to door. You're just knocking on people's doors. The conversion mechanism was door to door sales. And then the offer was the lawn aeration for $100, and he delivered it, and the customers were happy, and all he did was duplicate that unit case. So that's one example. Another example, Sales Process IO, this business here. So we created a product that helps entrepreneurs build profitable sales funnels and while being really capital efficient. And when we started selling this offer, I just did LinkedIn prospecting. I did LinkedIn outreach, and I sold it over the phone with inside sales. And it worked. It worked. I was able to generate leads. I was able to sell. I was able to get the product in the hands of people and the service in the hands of people. They were happy, and the unit case was profitable. And then once I figured that out, I just scaled LinkedIn outreach. So I just started doing it over and over and over and over again. And then as we started scaling, I tested the unit case with Facebook ads. So I went out to Facebook and started generating leads. And then all of a sudden it converted. We saw how much we were spending per lead. We saw what it cost per demo, and how much it cost to get a sale. And it worked. And then so once it worked, we just started scaling Facebook ads. And then the next thing we had to validate, the next unit case we had to validate, was selling it over the phone with LinkedIn ads. So we spun up some LinkedIn ads, and then we scaled LinkedIn ads. So as you can see, it's really simple. All we're trying to do, we're like scientists, and we're just validating the unit case. And then once we have that unit case, we scale it up and we exhaust it. We start hitting that plateau because, with LinkedIn outreach, there's a plateau that we hit. So we had to solve another unit case. And then there's another unit case that we had to sell. We had to validate. Another example is Kevin Mulhern from a company called AdvisorStream. He built a software that automates content marketing for financial advisors. And he proved it with friends and family. It was $200 a month. He proved it. He sold a few of his product, and it worked. People liked it. And then the first thing that we validated was we sold it over the phone with cold email, outbound prospecting. Sold it with cold. We were able to generate leads. We were able to generate demos, and we were able to close over the phone with outbound prospecting, cold email. And then once we had that, once we validated that, we scaled the cold emails traffic source. And then we started validating Facebook and LinkedIn ads. And then, of course, we scaled Facebook and LinkedIn ads. And then we sold it over the phone via channel partners. We validated a channel partner, and then we scaled the channel partner. So that's a great example of validating the unit case and then duplicating the unit case. Now, how do we pick your sales funnel? How do you pick your traffic source, your conversion mechanism, and how do you go about validating your unit case? Well, first things first, let's just sum up what we discussed. A business is just a mechanism that duplicates the unit case. And if you're starting from scratch, and this is what I teach my customers, the easiest thing to do is to test or to start with something higher ticket, get paid up front, and you want to use outbound prospecting and inside sales. So outbound prospecting as your traffic source and inside sales as your conversion mechanism. And that way you can get the business off the ground really, really, really quickly. So I'm just going to give you some quick guidelines for how to pick your sales funnel. And then we're going to dive deep into the math. And I'm going to show you a spreadsheet a spreadsheet that I put together that'll help you make your decision and help you model your unit case. So it depends on what you're selling. So how do you pick your sales funnel? It depends really on what you're selling. So if you're selling something that's over $3,000 gross contribution or lifetime value, then you can use paid traffic source, you can use outbound prospecting, use channel partners, you can use basically any traffic source, use a video sales letter to warm people up, and inside sales as your conversion mechanism. This is really, really important. And then you can use email automation, obviously, to pick up and the garbage goals, we call it, because you're going to be using email marketing automation to just drive people down the funnel. So if you're selling something over 3,000, you can use pretty much any traffic source. We recommend starting with outbound prospecting, and I'll show you why in a second. And you can use a video sales letter to warm people up and inside sales to sell it. And if you're selling something that's between $100 and $3,000, well, you can use paid traffic, but you can't really sustain an inside sales team. So you can use a video sales letter and sales page and email marketing automation to do the selling for you. Now, you can sell things at $2,000 to $3,000 with an inside sales team, but it's really, really hard because the velocity needs to be really, really high. So that's why we recommend if you're going to be using inside sales, you want to be selling something that's over 3,000 LTV, and this will probably save you a ton of heartache. And so if you're selling something that's not 3,000, at least 3,000 or 2,500, then you might want to up the price, or you're going to have to really work on automating that sale. Now, if you're selling something for $50 to $200, then what you can use pretty much any traffic source except outbound prospecting, because that's just a huge waste of time. You're not going to be able to scale outbound prospecting for something that's $50 to $200. You want to be using something like paid traffic, organic traffic, or channel partners, plus a video sales letter and email automation to sell your product. So this is really, really, really helpful. I'm going to dive into the math in a second, but kind of the rule of thumb: over 3,000, you can use a sales team. Less than 3,000, but over $100, you can use a VSL a funnel. If it's $50 to $200, then it's going to be really tough to use outbound prospecting. So you're going to have to get creative with your traffic sources, and your funnel needs to be tight, super, super tight, in order for it to work. Okay, so let's dive into the business case math, and I put together a model here of all these different types of funnels. I know I'm showing you a lot of information right now, but you can watch this video a few times, and I'm going to show you how the math actually works inside these funnels. So let's take a look at the first funnel, the outbound prospecting and inside sales funnel. Okay, so let's talk about the pros, the cons, and when it's used. So the pros, it's inexpensive, it's fast to set up, you can reach people, you can reach your executives, and it's easy to duplicate. Okay, so once you solve the outbound prospecting message, then you can just do it over and over and over again. The thing is, it's hard to scale and it's expensive to scale because you need a sales team, you need people actually sending these emails. So when are you using it? So you're gonna pretty much always use outbound prospecting unless you are selling something like for $50 to $200 when you're starting. So you're gonna be, if you're starting from scratch, you're testing a new offer, we recommend using the outbound prospecting traffic source in combination with inside sales. Obviously, you can use this when you're selling tickets over $3,000 and you know exactly who you're targeting. So outbound prospecting works really, really well when you know exactly who you're targeting. There was I came across this, someone did this interview, I forget who it was, but it made a lot of sense. It was years ago. And they said, if you know exactly who you're targeting, go direct. If you don't know who you're targeting, then you're gonna have to use like advertising and stuff like that. But if you know exactly who you're targeting, then it makes sense to go direct. Okay, so that's when you use outbound prospecting. Now let's take a look at the numbers and how you think about your outbound prospecting funnel. So as you know, you're just sending cold emails, you're sending cold LinkedIn messages or cold Facebook messages, and you're generating leads. So the way that we look at it, it's not 100% free because you have to pay for your tools, but a lot of the time you're gonna have to pay for the contact, okay? So good rule of thumb is like 2 cents a contact. And we're looking at we're going to be sending emails, we're sending messages, and we're looking for a lead rate of between 1% and 2%. So your cost per lead is really, really cheap. The lead to demo conversion rate or lead to appointment conversion rate is usually north of like 20%. And so our cost per demo and our cost is pretty negligible if you're doing this yourself. Okay, so it's only like, that's why it's really important to start with outbound prospecting because it's so inexpensive to start with, especially if you're doing it yourself. You can just generate appointments just using cold email or using LinkedIn. The show up rate is usually around 65%. So this is the 65% of the time that lead who books a demo will show up. Your close rate should be around 20%. We're going to show you how to get those close rates up in the sales training part of this program. And so your CPA is relatively inexpensive when you're using outbound prospecting. You can see here with like something like this. This is why we don't use outbound prospecting to sell like really low ticket things, right? Like for $50 because it doesn't even work. Even at the cheapest, this is really cheap. If you're selling something at $50, it's just not going to work. So then we look at the gross contribution. And if you're using a sales rep, you're usually going to be paying them 15% of the gross contribution. So this is why it's so important to get that gross contribution and that ticket price up. Okay, so here's what I mean. So let's say that we're selling something for $5,000 and we're paying our sales rep 15% of that gross contribution. And the gross contribution is it's after you pay all your expenses. It's after the cost of goods or services sold. Excuse me. And so we're looking at the cost per acquisition. You can see here that the cost per acquisition for the conversion is the 15% times the gross contribution, which is $750. And then we have our cost per acquisition total, where we just sum this number, and we get about $800. So you can see here that if our gross contribution is $5,000, then if we use this type of funnel, we're making a 500% return. This unit case is fantastic, okay? A 500% return. This is fantastic. And that's why we start with outbound prospecting. So let's just play with the ticket price. So let's say you're selling something for $10,000 gross contribution. You're getting, again, it's like a 5,000 or 500% return. Okay, and if you collect the cash, let's say you're collecting $3,000 in the first 7 days, well, we're looking at the ROI on cash. It's like a 93% ROI in the first 7 days. So you can scale this thing up as fast as you want, as fast as you can hire people to do this for you. Okay. So it's difficult to scale. That's why we use other things like paid advertising to scale up. But essentially, this is why you want to start with the outbound prospecting funnel, because look at the return. It's crazy. Okay. So let's pretend that your gross contribution is like $3,000. Well, it's still going to work. Okay. It's still going to work with outbound prospecting. Okay. And then this is the payback period. So let's say that you're collecting something like $500 a month. Well, if you're using this type of funnel, it'll take you 1 month to recoup your cost per acquisition. And the payback period is only 1 month here. You can see here, this is the payback period in months. Now, let's jump over to the paid traffic inside sales funnel. Now, this is the funnel that will blow up your business. And I'm going to explain the economics behind this funnel. So this will allow you to scale to the moon. You can reach new audiences in seconds. Now, the cons, it's hard to set up. It's hard to tune. You need some cash to test, and you need a sales team, obviously. And when is it used? Well, you've validated your offer with outbound prospecting or organic sources already. And you're using this when you're scaling up. And you can use this when you don't know exactly who you're targeting. So if you don't know, there might be some people in the woodwork that you want to target, but you don't know exactly who they are, then it makes sense to do the advertising. And when your economics make sense and your gross contribution numbers sustain a profitable business. So let's get into this. This is what I look at all day. All right, so this is what I look at all day. So we're going out to the Facebook network or the YouTube network or the LinkedIn network, and we're buying traffic. So you can see here, let's pretend that our cost per click is $8. Okay, our opt-in rate is 20%. This is the lead capture rate, and I'm going to show you how to build really great opt-in rates. So our cost per lead is $40. Okay, now our sales page or demo conversion rate with the video sales letter, if you do things properly, it should be around 15 to 20%, okay? And we're gonna show you how to get those types of numbers. So your cost per demo is gonna be around $200. Now notice the difference here. The cost per demo over here is like $6, but over here it's like $200. So that's why we need to prove out the outbound prospecting funnel first and make sure that we have a massive ROI before we go over to the paid traffic funnel, because there's less of a pillow. And I'll show you how this kind of works in a second. So let's pretend that our cost per demo is $200. Our show up rate for paid traffic is usually a little bit higher. Our close rate actually is usually a little bit higher. We'll call this 25%. And so our cost per acquisition just from ads is around $1,150. Now we're going to pay the sales rep similar commission, so 15% of the gross contribution. So let's say our gross contribution is $5,000, okay? And our CPA total is about $1,900. Notice that we're making 164% ROI, okay? We're making 160% ROI, and if we get $3,000 up front, we're making a 60% ROI in the first 7 days. So this machine, this unit case works. This thing works, okay? And so let's pretend that we're selling something, and this is why it's so important to get that gross contribution up. Let's say we're selling something for like $3,000, okay? Well, we're getting an 88% ROI, okay? And let's say that we're selling something $3,000, but it's like $250 a month, okay? So it's gonna take us like 6 months to get our, recoup our cost per acquisition. The payback period is like 6 months, okay? So this is gonna be pretty challenging. It's challenging to scale, because if this cost per click number increases, the whole thing might break. So I'm going to show you how sensitive this thing is. So $8 cost per click. Well, let's say 1 month it goes up to $12. All of a sudden our ROI shoots down. Let's say it's $15. All of a sudden our ROI shoots down. Okay, say it's $20 a click. All of a sudden we start losing money. So it's really dependent on that cost per click and the gross contribution number. That makes sense. You guys can play with this model. This is what I look at all day. This is how I validate these unit cases. So this is, this is an example of the paid traffic inside sales funnel. Now, obviously, if you're selling this by yourself, you can get rid of this salesperson number, okay? And you can obviously increase the ROI. But when you do install a salesperson, you're going to have to account for their commissions, okay? So best case scenario, let's say you're selling something for like $10,000, right? And it's costing you, maybe you going out on LinkedIn, it's costing you $12 a click. Well, it's going to cost you $3,000 to get a customer, but you're making $10,000 back. You're making a 200% ROI. So I love playing with these types of funnels because, and let's say you're getting $2,000 up front, because it's so profitable. Okay. This is what we teach. We teach you how to build these paid traffic funnels. So if it's 10,000 and you're only paying $12 a click, you guys can make a ton of money. Now, the next funnel that we're going to be discussing is the content marketing and inside sales funnel. So when is this funnel used? Well, you're going to be using this type of funnel to support your outbound prospecting and advertising efforts. So you're going to start with this funnel, and then you're going to be testing this funnel, and then you're going to be using this funnel to support the other two funnels. So it's inexpensive. Okay, it builds your brand, it separates you from the competition, and it increases the conversion rate of other traffic sources. It's hard to scale a content marketing or organic funnel, okay? It's time consuming and it's slow to set up, okay? But you're gonna be using this when you're scaling up, and you're gonna combine it with the inbound and outbound paid traffic funnel, okay? So how do we look at this? Well, we're looking at the cost to produce the content. So maybe it's a video, or maybe it's a blog, or maybe it's a designer, and we're looking at the views. Okay, so let's say we can get 1,000 views on our content, and the lead rate in your niche, maybe it's 3%. So you can see here our cost per lead is pretty low. And I'm just going to fix this. This is a number here. So our cost per lead is pretty low. The demo conversion rate is a little bit higher on organic sources. So it's 40% demo conversion rate. That's what I put into this model here. It's a little bit higher than the outbound prospecting and paid traffic because they're coming to you, they're engaging organically. So our cost per demo is still pretty low. It's like $40, which is a lot less than the inside sales, which is like 300, right? The paid traffic inside sales, which is like 300. And so the show up rate is pretty standard, 65, 70%. The close rate is usually a little bit higher, 25, 30%. We'll call it 25%. So our CPA is like $250. We're going to be paying the same 15% of the gross contribution to the sales rep. So our CPA is like $700. Again, we're going to be, depending on what you're selling, you want to mine the gross contribution number, and you can look at the ROI. So it's like a 300% ROI. Now, the thing is, it's just difficult to scale this thing. So that's why you don't want to be investing tons of time and money into doing this, because it's actually really, really hard to scale, especially as there's more competition in the market. It's very noisy. People are on YouTube. People are doing blogs. Everyone and their dog has a blog. Everyone and their dog has an Instagram channel. So it's really tough to scale this type of funnel. So that's why we use it, but we only use it to supplement our inbound and outbound funnels. That makes sense. So again, let's go back to this model. Let's say a $10,000 gross contribution. So let's say $10,000 gross contribution. Boom, we're making a 500% ROI, which is insane. Okay, and if we collect $2,000 up front, we're in the money from day 7. Okay. So let's get into the paid traffic automated free trial funnel. Okay. Now that some people are using this funnel, I have some clients that are using this funnel. Okay. It's used when you've proven that your free trial offer converts and you have a pretty low churn rate. So if you don't have this free trial offer dialed in, you don't know, that people are getting value, then I recommend using an inside sales funnel to start, because you want to know why they're buying. You want to know, what price to sell it at. But once you've dialed that in and you have this free trial thing you dialed in, then you can start doing paid traffic to a free trial. And it's usually what you want to use this when you really can't afford to install an inside sales team because the ticket price is too low. So maybe something for like $39, $49, $59 a month, maybe even $100 a month. you want to be using this free trial funnel. So if you're using paid traffic plus free trial funnel, this will allow you to scale. You don't need to hire a sales team. You can keep your team small. You're going to have to hire some customer success representatives. It's expensive. It's hard to tune. And it's slow to set up, but you can scale if you get it working. And so let's go through the economics of this funnel. So let's pretend that you're in a market that's not that expensive. It's a big market, so your cost per click is really low. And we have a client that's doing this right now with a CRM. And his cost per click is like $1 to $2. Opt-in rate is pretty high, 30%. Actually, we'll do 20%. Cost per lead is like $5. The lead to free trial conversion is 20%. So our cost per trial is like $25. The trial close rate is 20%. You should be shooting for that number, 20 to 25%. So 25% of the time, these free trials convert into paid customers. So you're looking at a cost per acquisition of about $125. So this is where it gets really, really important. So let's pretend your gross contribution is $600, right? All of a sudden, you're making a 380% ROI. Okay? So you have to dial. This is a really tough machine to build, but once you get it working, then you can scale really, really fast. So let's say you're selling something for like $59 a month. They stay on for like a year. The gross contribution is around $600, and it's costing you $125 to get somebody signed up. Then you're making a 380% ROI. Boom, we can scale this thing to the moon. And you got to be careful, because as soon as this traffic source jumps up, as soon as the cost per click jumps up, the ROI starts going down. So at $4 a click, all of a sudden you're only making a 20% ROI. At $5 a click, you're in the red. So you have to be very careful with these types of funnels, and you have to make sure that your traffic source and your traffic costs are low. And that's why it really pays to be really good at this advertising stuff. And this is what we're going to be teaching you in the program. Okay. So that's the paid traffic automated free trial funnel. Obviously, you're going opt-in page, video sales letter, free trial. Then they're going to sign up because the product is so good. 20% of the time, they're going to sign up because the product is solid. And so the next funnel that we're going to be covering is the paid traffic automated multi-step funnel. And this is one of my favorite funnels. And this is used when you're selling like smaller ticket things that don't require a salesperson. So ebooks or online training or e-commerce. A great example of this is Greg O'Gallagher's funnel. He's selling ebooks and he's selling supplements. He's selling glasses. He's selling shirts. And how this funnel works is we're buying traffic, we're collecting leads, and then we have the Tripwire conversion event. Okay, so the Tripwire is something small. It's like maybe a $47 purchase. And this is what Greg's is $67. Okay. So $67, it's a small purchase, and the Tripwire conversion rate, we'll call this 8%. And so it might cost him $63 to get a customer, but he's making $67 on the Tripwire. But then as soon as that customer signs up for the Tripwire, he starts upselling them. And Russell Brunson's really good at this. If you know this, the founder of ClickFunnels, he's really good at this. As soon as the Tripwire, as soon as the person buys the Tripwire, then they start upselling them like crazy. So upsell one, we're looking at like a 10 to 20% conversion rate, and the gross contribution from the upsell is, you can play with this number, but sometimes it's like $100, sometimes it's $500, okay? And then what we're looking at is the expectation value of the customer, okay? And the way that we find this number is we take the Tripwire, okay, the Tripwire gross contribution, and then we add the expectation value of the upsell. And the way that we figure out the expectation value is we multiply the probability of the upsell times the gross contribution of that upsell. So you can see here that we took B10, which is $67, and we took B7, which is the $67, and we added B10 times B11. So B10 times B11 is the expectation value of upsell number 2. And then we added B8 times B9, which is the expectation value of upsell number 1. And then we added it to the expectation value of the customer. So as you can see, we go out, we spend, it's just math here. We spend $63 to get a customer, and then we're making $127 back, and we're making this is how these guys are making millions and millions of dollars. They have these funnels dialed in. And so they're just going out and they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on traffic. And for every dollar that they spend, they make $2 or $3 back. They're getting a 200% ROI. And so the name of the game with this funnel, and I have clients that were working on these types of funnels. The name of the game is making sure the upsell conversion rate is solid and the upsell ticket prices are solid. Okay, so you can see here, let's say the upsell number one is like $50. Okay, all of a sudden the expectation value goes down a little bit, right? Let's say the upsell number two is $1,000. All of a sudden it goes up. Okay, so you guys can play with this model. This is one of my favorite types of funnels. This just works with info products and e-commerce and all this other stuff. And you're going to be using video sales letters and email automation, but you just want to be mindful of the math. Now, the last rendition of this funnel is the content marketing plus the email automated multi-step funnel. Okay, so this works if you're just a brand new, you're selling something like e-commerce, you're selling something like an info product or something like that. You don't have a lot of money to start testing ads, because if you're going to be using this funnel, you're going to have to spend thousands of dollars on testing before you dial these numbers in. So if you don't have a ton of money to test, and this is what Greg O'Gallagher did, he got to his first $1 million just in organic traffic. So he was producing content and he was generating leads and he was generating Tripwire signups, and then he had his upsells dialed in. And he was just pumping out content on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, and he got to his first $1 million net by using this funnel. And then he transitioned over to the paid traffic multi-step funnel, and that's how he blew up his business. So these are the models that you guys can use in your business. For most people, we're going to be starting with the outbound prospecting plus inside sales funnels, and then we're going to be transitioning to the paid traffic funnels, paid traffic inside sales funnels, and then we're going to be supplementing with the content marketing. Okay, so for most people, it's going to be like these three funnels that we're going to be worrying about. And then for some people, some of the SaaS businesses out there or the subscription businesses, they're doing a paid traffic plus free trial. Okay, so we just got to dial those in. So some people will be in this camp. And then some people with the ebooks, I know we have a lot of fitness guys in here, like any sort of ebooks or any sort of online programs, you're going to be using this type of funnel. You're using the automated multi-step funnel. Okay, so most people will be in the first three, and some people will be in the fourth one, and then some of our ebook and e-commerce people will be in this camp over here. So let's just sum this stuff up. Again, a business case is just a mechanism, a unit case is a business, it's just a mechanism that duplicates the unit case. And if you want the easiest point of entry, and so if you have the choice, some of you already have businesses, but you might be playing with your offers. The easiest point of entry is high ticket upfront using outbound prospecting. Okay, and I showed you why. We go to outbound prospecting. The easiest place to start, let's say you're selling something for like 10 grand, $10,000. You're making a 500% ROI. And you can do this with not too many people. So if you're starting from scratch and you have the choice, then I recommend starting with something high ticket and you're getting paid up front. Let's say you're getting paid like $3,000 up front. Okay. This is the easiest way to get started because you have cash in the bank. And then once you get up to $30,000 a month, $50,000 a month, that's when you can start experimenting with the paid traffic inside sales funnel. That's when you can start hiring some people. Okay. So this was a lot. I hope this helps. This is the way that this is the lens that I use when I talk to any business. I really just look at their gross contribution. I look at the traffic source, and it's pretty easy to solve their problem. And then the name of the game is in the whole course is just solving these conversion rates. Okay, that's all we're doing. Once we have this stuff dialed in, we're just solving these conversion rates. All the assets that we're teaching you, all the messaging, it's to get this number up. It's to get this number up, the demo conversion rate up. It's to get the close rate up. All the sales training is just to get that rate up, right? For the paid traffic, all we're doing is in the program, we're trying to get this opt-in rate up. We're trying to get the demo conversion rate up, the conversion rate up. And then of course, for you guys in the product, if you're doing product development and you're playing with the offer, you want to get that gross contribution number up. So I hope this video helps. I was excited to present this to you, and we will see you in the next video.